Coming up on this episode of Common Denominator.
When you're a small brand, it's really nice when you go somewhere and everybody remembers you.
Hi, and welcome to Common Denominator. I'm Moshe Popack, and today we chat with Francisco Tonarely. Francisco is the CEO and co-founder of Grand Brulot, VSOP Cognac Café. Handcrafted in the Cognac region of France, the drink is a mixture of cognac and coffee, which is a 200-year-old French tradition. Francisco's been in the spirits industry for over 30 years and has served in the C-suite at Seagram's, Bacardi, and more. He'll talk about the ultra-lucrative business of booze, how it's changed over the years, and how his baby, Grand Brulot, came to fruition. So enjoy my conversation with Francisco. Cheers. Hi, Francisco, and welcome to Common Denominator.
Thank you very much for inviting us.
So 2018, you started Grand Brulot, and you've had tremendous success. Let's go back and talk about the actual product. Mm-hmm. What is Grand Brulot?
Grand Brulot, the sales pitch is it's an award-winning VSOP, full-proof cognac, aged and blended with coffee. VSOP means very special old pale, and it's aged minimum 4 years. Ours is aged 6 years. And why 6 years? Is because what we do is when you're a small brand, everything has to matter, right? So I wanted to make sure that everything in that bottle made sense and had a purpose, right? So the liquid had to be perfect. The coffee is an example of what when we developed it. I always said we do what's right, not what's popular. 67% of the world market is Arabica. Right? 33 is Robusta because Robusta is more bitter. When we're doing the testing, they said, we're going to go with Arabica. It's more popular. It's sweeter. It didn't work well because cognac has an inherent sweetness. So we chose the Robusta, which is more bitter. So that's why when you taste Grand Brulot, you're going to have a balance between the cognac and the coffee where they both complement. No one fights over predominance, which is what I think is really neat about the brand. Everything we do at the Tardy Distillery. The Tardy Distillery is 160 years old, 6 generations, and
where is the distillery?
In Charente-Maritime, which is in the Fines-Bois region of Cognac.
That's in France.
In France.
So then you ship the Ecuadorian beans to France and manufacture.
They roast. They take out the essence. Mm-hmm. They blend, and then we blend with the French brandy, and then we age with the cognac, mm-hmm. and that varies. At one point we thought it would be 12 months, then we thought it was 6, but the profile we're getting it spot on at fewer months, which afforded us, from a business perspective, greater turnaround times.
The way I think about it also in the spirits sense is basically, okay, one thing is, like in every business, right? The startup business you started in 2018 is the barriers to entry, right? Do you sell wholesale? You sell directly to retailers? What's the actual logistics when you have a spirit brand? I know a lot of people are trying to start them, tequilas, different brands. Right. What is the actual process to get on shelves and actually get to the customers?
We started the creation of this, or the transition to what it is today in June 14th, 2015, from a dear friend of mine who was having dinner at a restaurant. His name was John Bernbach, and he called me and says, I just had this phenomenal drink after dinner. They're looking for an investor or a partner. Are you interested? I said, well, I can't be interested in something I don't know. Right? So between 2015 and 2018 was all development, coming up with the right formula, starting our culture of innovation and making sure everybody understands it's going to be involved, that it's all about being true to ourselves and more importantly to the brand, right? And then in 2018 is when we launched in the fourth quarter, and we launched it in Paris, London, and New York, and then followed by Georgia and the other markets. To your question, so the barriers is once you have that product, you love that brand, you see its potential, but then it's bringing it to those people that you hope can take it to market. because a very interesting question, right, is when the people that are not from the industry think it's like a bottle of water. You bottle the water, you buy the plastic, get the labels, put it on a truck, and you sell to whoever you want. In the case of spirits, you have to, it's called a 3-tier system. I'm a supplier and an importer. And then for us, I have to sell to a distributor, a Southern Glazers, an RNDC, Serendipity, or the medium and smaller ones. And then they, in turn, are the ones that can, by law, have to sell it to the retailers.
In other words, you can't, by law, you cannot in North America sell directly to customers online, for example.
No, you can sell online, but it's done through a wholesaler, a distributor.
So you can't go direct.
Right.
Right. I know different industries are that way.
Yeah.
And do the wholesalers dictate the price?
No. Well, for me, the price, one of the things, I worked for Pepsi International for many years. And I worked for Colgate-Palmolive. And those are the two companies. One gave me the structure. The other one gave me the excitement. Right? And then the spirits industry is something that I fell in love with because in terms of potential and all the barriers you had to get through. Right.
So the challenge. You enjoy the challenge.
I love the challenge.
Right.
If you tell me, this can't be done, I'll be like, oh, of course it can.
Right.
And I'll find a way.
Join the club. Join the club.
Right. And then there's certain people you say, oh, if he says it sucks, I know it's going to be good.
That's right.
Right. So you have those people as well. But here it's what we do is the price. It's dictated for me by the competitive set and the consumer and where you're going to compete. If I compete as a cognac and I had extremely deep pockets, I could command a higher price point because we are a VSOP, right? Since our entry is through the coffee segment, we have to be very careful in terms of that number one, you got to pay the bills. Number two, you're not going to shortchange. Like my cost of goods went up 37% last year, right?
Inflation, sure.
So we're absorbing a lot of it as a part of our marketing investment, right? Of those from that fund, because I'm not going to I don't have enough money, or we don't have enough money to be telling every consumer why this is much better. What we can do is facilitate entry, making sure the retailers have their margin, the wholesalers have their margin, and we protect ours, right? So in that, there's a mixed match where you basically tell people, I'm going to compete. Like in our pricing strategy, we're 15%. Now it's more like 17% below the VSOP leaders, right? So there's that relevance because we also don't want to lose that positioning. And in the case of coffee, there it depends on how we, when you go to the on-premise, making sure that our cost per drink is competitive and doesn't take it out of whack. Right. So if, for example, the other day we got a call, Massachusetts, they wanted a drink. They wanted our bottle where it comes out to like 70 cents an ounce. I said, listen, it's the wrong place for us. Don't even worry about it. Godspeed to that brand. Knock yourselves out. Right? So for us, we over-deliver on quality. We over-deliver on taste. One of the things that you have to be, personally, is like I tell some folks, I said, if the bar is serving $14 cocktails, that's the threshold.
Right.
They make more. They do better with us at $16 and above. Right.
What would you say was, because I'm thinking 2015. I'm thinking about the stamina and the grit that you had to take. Right. So it's 2015. You're coming up. Are you working during that time from 2015 to 18 in another job while you're building that out? I'm just trying to see, like, for a typical entrepreneur, were you doing this on nights and weekends, building out the research, or do you have another job that you were doing at the time? And then from 2018, when you launched, till you started seeing the first success, which in business, I always say it's profit, right? Real profit. How long did it take from 2018 till you actually started, being able to make sales to the extent where you're profitable?
Yeah. I was my career, I was, for example, I was a global group head at Seagram, right? So this to give you in terms of, because they all come into play. So we bought Don Julio. We created 1942, our team, my team. So we launched that. I was a CEO.
For example, what was the last year of sales of 1942? Just so we understand, like, numbers. Would you say?
Right. Well, I know that they did. I
Most
believe,
recent that you remember?
no, because I left in 2004. We created the brand.
Right. But just from your knowledge, like a super successful brand, what could they do in sales? Just a frame of reference.
A brand that's well established, that becomes a target for acquisition.
Right.
It fluctuates, but it's at 20,000 case threshold. Once you hit 20,000 cases, and you're competing in a segment, and you're showing double-digit growth rates, and you're showing sell-through in let's say in 50 accounts per market, and you see rotation, that's an acquisition.
Right.
Right.
Because
So
I saw like The Rock, like Dwayne Johnson's, like that was the, so he in his first year, because of all the social media he has.
Yeah.
Right. And I guess everybody's trying to, Casamigos copy them, right? George Clooney.
Yeah.
What he did and sell for $1 billion, right? And then you have every celebrity trying to do that. I think that your approach, I think, is more measured, coming from your corporate strategy. I like that approach, because you have to have the passion, but yet you also have to be practical
and consistent.
Right.
Like, for example, it's becoming a crowded field with the stars, right? And that star power.
Yeah.
And God bless them. I mean, to do 1 million cases in 3 years, that's incredible. Tito's, it took longer, but it's the largest selling vodka right now. It was that consistent message. That guy worked the market. I mean, kudos to Tito and everything that they've accomplished. There's a lot of brands that, that have that lift. I would love at one point, Grand Brulot is a brand that if people try it, people like it. It's one of those brands that it's affordable, to your point on pricing. It doesn't throw anybody off. It's at $36 to $42. The quality speaks for itself, and the occasions are getting larger, right? When I was involved in tequila, it was 5 million cases, largely controlled by Salsa and Cuervo, limited cocktailability, limited price points, a young consumer. And what was driving tequila was basically the association with Mexican food that was growing, right? So when I got involved with Grand Brulot, one of the things I was telling my partners and investors, I said, this is a parallel universe to tequila that I saw, right? So here you have 67% of the market by one player, you have another 15% by the other players, and then we have us. And we're competing what I call the non-franchisable territory. It's all these other brands looking for their place. So I had seen the growth in flavored spirits. I had seen the efforts by Hennessy to go into different occasions and cocktails. And I said, and the ubiquity of coffee. So Grand Brulot had the VSOP cognac. So it's a great tasting cognac, right? But it had the flavor of coffee. So remember flavors. In vodka, large sales are due to the flavors. Then you had the flavored whiskeys.
Yeah.
So now flavored spirits is a very large segment.
Yeah, it seems that way in a lot of things. Even coffee, you take like a Starbucks, like mocha flavored. The flavored thing seems to be
because you're hitting different occasions. Different people like different things.
Right.
And when you have a spirit that works well with everything,
right.
It makes a huge difference. Tequila, when you go back to early 2000s, it was basically lime, salt, and sugar, and shoot it because you had no idea how it was gonna burn.
Right.
Right. And right now it's surpassing vodka. It has multiple occasions, and they do it in all different cocktails.
Just a quick reminder, this is the Common Denominator Podcast. If you're enjoying this episode, we'd be grateful if you can leave us a 5-star rating and review, and subscribe to our YouTube page if you haven't already done so. Thanks so much. Now, back to the show. As far as, things you didn't expect. So you're on this journey, trying to grow the business. What's something that surprised you positively or negatively from from a business perspective, some sort of obstacle or?
Yeah, the biggest challenge, and it's you can't interview for loyalty, loyalty and passion, right? So life is all about finding the right people to do the right things over and over again, right? So the biggest lesson for me and and anybody is, become better at finding the right people to do those things that are necessary on a consistent basis. Mm. So one of the surprises is when, you pay well or you pay the best you can, but always being upfront, no surprises. And people are selling you on all the things that they can do, all the things that supposedly they did. And, what's so sad is, it's like, my God, but all these things that were supposed to be done, so that would be the biggest surprise.
Right.
And I'm not naive. I've worked in large companies my whole life. But when you're an owner and you're an entrepreneur, maybe our fault is that we try to measure people how we are. Mm. Right? And then there it's like maybe it's a matter of just taking a step back.
It's funny on that note, just the other day I was speaking to him, he's almost 18, but he's young, and he's like, I don't understand. Because he started working in the business a little bit. He's like, you told this person to do something. You told them clearly. You put it in writing. They agreed. They're an adult. Like, why are you following up exactly? Like, why do you have to, they'll just do it. Mm. I'm like, that's the hardest thing. And I had a meeting yesterday, and that was the number one thing, is finding exactly your point, hoping, and that's our job too. You're leading a company. You have to set the vision. Right. And you have to never stop flying the plane. Straightforward. Whatever's happening, you're just flying. And you try to support people. And sometimes it's not for them, right? So they have to move on. You have to know that.
Absolutely.
And they have to choose that. And if it's for them, hopefully they're aligned with the vision, then hopefully they stick around. You have to support that. I mean, everybody has
Absolutely.
their life.
Absolutely. Yes, I have 3 kids.
Right.
2 work in New York in luxury, and my son works here with Southern, right? And for me, those are the life lessons. Like my father, they say first one there, last one to leave. The work never stops. Always be available. So those are the things in terms of, because the biggest lesson is how do you refine and continuously be better at execution? Because, like you say, you're flying the plane. You have the fuel, which is a product. You're covering the territory, which is your business. You can land it when you have to, right? Take off again because you found something else at a bit nicer airport, right? But at the end, it's, making sure that, that everyone stays true to that vision and executes it within that culture, which in of itself should create that sense of engagement with all your customers. Right. So when we do things, it's never about the immediate, right? It's about all those people you impact. When you're a small brand, it's really nice when you go somewhere, and I'm very proud of this. I'll go, I was in Aspen a couple weeks ago, New York, Paris, and everybody remembers you. Right. I think it's for the right reasons. Yeah. But they know that you're true to your word. If there's we had a sourcing issue, we're correcting it, but you're upfront with it.
Accountability. Yeah.
Yeah. So they respect that, and it's a long game. To your point earlier, in terms of the star power, some people don't need it. So at the end is, how long is that game? I built this for a long time. Yes, in our group, there's people depending on their age that they might want to sell sooner, but at the end, it's you're building it for the long term.
So I always think about that. I think whether it's business or real estate, what I'm in, I always say that. I like that you say that because you should at least have, if you're going to decide to be an entrepreneur, I think of the 10 years. Yeah, I think of 10 years out, I'm going to start this, write down and visualize what the movie's going to look like. Right. Right? Really, really kind of see, it's not going to go exactly like you think, but as long as you're in the general sphere, I'm committing, right? It's the hardest thing. Make that commitment I'm committing to do whatever it takes. Number one thing is grit, right? You have to just right.
Absolutely.
So you're doing that. How do you deal with having tough conversations with employees? As far as like, right, we talk about like it's hard to get things done, and there's just not. It's just things are not happening. You seem like an even keeled founder. Do you find that hard if you have to reprimand or have tough conversations with employees? How does that work for you?
Yeah. The other day I had one, right? And no one enjoys it, but at the end, like I say, it's not about. I was telling my kids every time I use my kids because I think it's something worthwhile. But I said there's a difference between being assertive and being aggressive, right? And when you're assertive, it's because you're doing it for the right reasons. If you're aggressive, you can be hard charged. There's a positive side to aggressive, but I'm referring to the negative side, right? Yeah. The bully pulpit, right. So I'm totally against that because I've suffered it. I've had great bosses. I've had spectacular bosses. I have spectacular partners, right, and all very accomplished. Like the other day, for example, the conversation started where this person wanted to quit, leave, all these different, and I said, he's had a bad weekend. I said, and this is like, for example, if my wife and kids were here, they'd be like, oh, God, are you serious? Because they know that I can be a little, but something said, this guy's not doing well. Let me hear him out. So it started out where I'm out. This is terrible, but all these every negative you can imagine. And I'm very optimistic. I do not talk to negative people. And if a conversation is somebody negative, it's like, oh, I'm out of here. Right? It's contagious. So it started him leaving. It ended with him loving what he did and sees the potential. Right? But in that, to your question, it's about saying we can all have a bad week. We can all concentrate on all these other things.
Yeah.
But I need you on this side. Focus, understanding the issues. Because I don't want, I'm not sugarcoating anything. But let's focus on all those things that have to happen to hit our goal. Yeah. Right? And we know that goals, they're unquantifiable, but these are a series of objectives that we have to accomplish to get there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I won't put up with any disrespect. And I don't care who it comes from. There's certain things that, I'm known as somebody that calls it as he sees it.
I think that's the healthiest way.
Yeah.
What would you say is the number one advice that you can give anyone kind of starting off as an entrepreneur? Maybe someone gave you the advice or something that really kind of sticks in your mind to give to the audience?
And this I'm saying was it occurred to me now, but it's don't do anything where you're not waking up thinking about it and going to bed thinking about it. Mm. Because if you don't have, I translate to the passion. Yeah. Unless it's something that's really, really, taking hold of you, if it's not, find out why, and then find out what are those things that you're constantly thinking about. My daughter sent me this quote yesterday and said it was something to the effect of something about wishes versus things that you work for versus wishing that things would happen. Mm. And you can wish all you want, but that's not going to get you anywhere.
Practical. Yeah. And I love that. I'm seeing that again, common denominator amongst all entrepreneurs that we interview is they keep saying about that passion. And I want to hit home on that. The passion brings the grit,
right?
Tenacity, the ability to keep forging forward, which is an extremely important ingredient in going. Either you're not successful, it's a result.
Sure.
or you are successful in
Right.
the business. What would you say something that you're deeply grateful for?
The opportunity to be recognized by my peers, my investors, and my friends, to take this, to lead it, but also that part which is also very important is, we came in as equal shareholders, so we control, and these are, one of them used to be the COO and president of Coke, CEO of Starwood, one was chairman of Omnicom. So these are, they're powerful people, but they're humble,
Of course.
and they're nice. So it's the recognition can't be understated, and so that for me personally was very important. And then knowing that the reason that you're there is because you've done it, and you're not there because you're a nice person. Being nice is very important also. But that's something.
But that's also not so typical. Talk to me about, I love that you mentioned that they're humble. These business partners, they've made it. They're super successful. Because I believe that there is this youth are seeing like, oh, you have to be, you have to have a certain type of attitude. But I think in the end, because nothing is known in this world, we're going through it. I think that surrender and that humility of life, you've lived life and you've seen. So it seems to me that you've seen a lot of the real people that are sustainable in holding their wealth, opening family offices and doing what they're doing. They probably do have this underlying, at least in my experience, this humility.
One of the things, and it goes towards being humble, is you got to show vulnerability. Right? And I always tell people, I know what I don't know. And that's why you build teams. Right? So you're only as strong as that weakest part of that member. Right? So realizing that, like for me, I was on the board of directors of Blue Cross Blue Shield in Puerto Rico, publicly traded. And for me, it was one of those things where people, directors would be talking, and at one point raised my hand and said, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And then and others would laugh and go, neither do I.
Right.
Right,
the truth.
But it takes that thing where you basically, I think that, successful people, smart people don't have to be telling people that they're successful or that they're smart. Right? That just comes across. Right? It's those people that you got to be wary of. So for me, that's what I enjoy. Yeah. Having that place at the table and being given the opportunity to have that voice. And that's something you earn through experience and grit. Grit is better than perseverance. It's a phenomenal, it's what's needed. Yeah. So for me, it's like I tell my kids, you're growing up in a tough age. Right? Because right now, there's a sense of entitlement. There's a sense of, oh, I'm worth a lot more. Well, no, you're not. Right. You're worth what someone's willing. Your house you think is worth X. Unless somebody comes with a check, it's not worth X.
Correct.
So don't be silly, right? So, but what you can do is outwork everybody else and see what you can do.
And what's something about yourself that people don't know?
I'm a better friend in hard times than in good times.
That's a real friend, by the way. I was talking to somebody just today about that point. It's the friends that you have in war, you go to battle with, and they're going to say to you, and those are the friends that everybody should seek out. They're going to always tell you the truth. You like it, you don't like it. We run away from those people, but those are the only people you should be around because life's hard, and that's who you should be connected. So I respect that a lot. And Francisco, I want to say thank you so much for joining us. How can people learn more about you and follow you on social media?
You want to know more about me? I'll invite you to lunch, right? Or a cocktail. I'm very accessible, right? Last night we had an activity over at the old seaplane area, and I met a lot of people, and it was, oh, let's have lunch. I said, of course. So I love that FaceTime. I hate Zoom. right? So I really appreciate this. If it would have been Zoom, can't stand it, right?
I prefer this too, as well.
In terms of Grand Brulot, ask for it. Wherever you go, ask for Grand Brulot. We'll make sure that it's there.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure.
It's been great. Good luck with
Thank
everything. Hope you enjoyed my conversation with Francisco. Please subscribe to our YouTube page so you never miss an episode. And if you're currently listening to the show, we'd be grateful for a 5-star rating and review. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you again next week.